everyone, for this video, we're gonna talk about free-falling bodies. We'll also be discussing its definition, basic concepts and common misconceptions, kinematic equations for objects in freefall where acceleration is equals to negative gravity, and lastly, to solve basic problem concerning freefall. Let us define first what is free-falling. Free-falling object is an object that is falling under the sole influence of gravity. An object in freefall experiences an acceleration of negative 9.81 meter per second squared. You might be wondering on why it has a negative sign on it. To give you clarification, this negative sign is an indication of downward acceleration, which means that, whether it is explicitly mentioned or not, the value of acceleration in the kinematic equation is negative 9.81 meter per second squared because it is accelerating down the negative direction. Few examples of free fall in real life are fruit falling from the tree, bungee jumping, skydiving, stone drop down on an empty well, and meteors falling towards the earth.
And now, let's go to the basic concept and misconception you need to know in free fall. So let's start by considering straight up and down motion with no air resistance or friction. If it's stated in the problem that the object dropped, the initial velocity is 0. And if it's stated the object was thrown, the velocity is either positive or negative, depending on what direction of the object was thrown. Next is the common mistake in free fall, wherein the most people mistakenly think that the final velocity for a falling object is 0 because the object stopped once they hit the ground. But no, the final velocity is the speed just before the object reaches the ground. Once touches the ground, it means that it's no longer free fall.
Now that we have an idea on how free falling works, let's now discuss its formulas and answer one practice problem for better understanding. The kinematic equations for objects in free fall where acceleration is equals to negative gravity are: first, final velocity is equals to initial velocity plus gravity times time. Second, vertical displacement is equals to initial velocity times time plus 1/2 gravity times time squared. Third is final velocity squared is equals to initial velocity squared plus 2 gravity times vertical displacement. Wherein V sub O is equals to initial velocity, V is equals to final velocity, G is equals to gravity, T is equals to time, and Y is equals to vertical displacement or height. Now, let's try what we understand through a practice problem. Rex of his apartment 18.2 meters above the ground. Determine the time it took for it to reach the ground. For the step-by-step process of solving the problem, let us use GRESA. First is to look for the given V sub O or initial velocity is equals to 0 m over s because of the keyword drop. Y or vertical displacement is equals to 18.2 meters and gravity is equals to negative 9.8 m over s squared. Second step is to check what is the requirement in this problem, which is time. Third, find the kinematic equation that's best to use for solving the problem. In this case, we are going to use the vertical displacement is equals to initial velocity times time plus 1/2 gravity times time squared. Fourth step is the solution where we are going to use the equation stated. For the solution, vertical displacement is equals to initial velocity times time plus 1/2 gravity times time squared. Substitute the given values into the equation. So 18.2 meters is equals to 0 times time plus 1/2 times negative 9.8 m over s squared times t squared. And that is equals to 18.2 meters is equals to 1/2 times negative 9.8 m over s squared times time squared. Then calculate it using your scientific calculator and then you will get this. 18.2 over negative 4.905 is equals to negative 4.905 times time squared over negative 4.905. Now, t squared is equals to negative 3.7105 and then we will use the square root to get the final answer. And our final answer is time is equals to 1.93 seconds.
And that's it for today's video. I hope you guys learned something from what we have discussed. Don't forget to practice solving problems to test your understanding towards the topic. Thank you for watching. Till next time.